Hello everyone, back to tuning in to today's second video. Going to have a look at weather for the next week, 10 days for today's second video. Day 10 will take us to the 19th of January, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended ECM and GFS ensembles. They run around a couple of weeks. We'll have a look at the CFS-V2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks. That will get us to the beginning of February, and I shall get on with that for you in a moment. Just to say about the first video today was a 6 AM upload. Can be live streaming at 8 PM. But see if you can do ensembles watch live. So we should have a look at the 12Z operational runs. We'll go through all members of the GFS ensembles, and we'll bring you up to date with the EC42 day forecast as well, which should be updating, you know, as we're doing the live stream, and hopefully we'll be able to bring you a little bit of stratospheric data from the EC extended. That's all coming up from 8 PM. I shall see you live then, hopefully. Please like, share, subscribe on the videos of live streams. Thank you so much, everybody, doing that. We are so close now to 15.3k. Just got to put on around one or two more subscribers to get to 15.3k. Thank you so much, everybody, for getting us this far. We're grinding to 16k, but the next mini target is 15.3k. So please give us a sub, and we thank you so very much, everybody, for doing that. Right, we're going to begin with developments in the stratosphere. So, going to be up to date with the latest 2 GFS runs, starting off with the midnight GFS run. So, very cold temperatures in the stratosphere at 10 HPA over the North Pole at the moment with these blue and purple colours. Next couple of days, we'll see the first sort of minor warming of the stratosphere at 10 HPA over Siberia. There it is there. By the middle of this week, that one sort of fades out, doesn't do very much at all. But as we go on into the extended range, we find a renewed warming occurring around the 20th, 21st of January. That becomes quite a significant warming of the stratosphere. It looks like another warming is beginning to gather pace by the 25th of January. However, up to that point, the polar vortex is still in business, being displaced a little bit towards Greenland and northern parts of America. So this is what we call a displacement event of the polar vortex. But essentially, the PV is still alive and well up to that point. Now, let's have a look at GFS 6Z, see how that one's looking. Again, starting off with these blue and purple colours at 10 HPA over the Arctic and over the North Pole. Another warming, or a warming, the first warming, is going to occur over Siberia there in a couple of days' time. That one doesn't do very much at all, though. And then as we go into extended range with the GFS 6Z, we find a more significant warming of the stratosphere taking place there around the 21st of December over Siberia. That does look, you know, really impactful, doesn't it, that warming? It's quite a dramatic warming, and it gets even more dramatic by the 23rd of January. Look at that. That is reaching certain stratospheric warming temperature levels, no doubt, about really displacing the polar vortex over towards Canada and northern parts of America, and also propagating into the North Pole, this warming as well. So, you know, up to this point, again, it hasn't split PV or reverse solar wind, but that would certainly be a real blow to the polar vortex. If you go on a couple more days, you know, does make you wonder whether we would see the PV splitting there. I reckon we possibly would, because that is a very dramatic warming that's going on with that GFS 6Z run, and it is moving it into the North Pole, you know, as well. It is moving it into the Arctic. Displacement event on polar vortex up to that point, 25th of January, but I do wonder whether that would, right, you know, wonder whether that would split the polar vortex a couple of days further right. It would be interesting if we could go any further on, but unfortunately, we cannot. Anyway, developments in the stratosphere is still looking quite interesting with the GFS, whether this is all extended stuff, so some reliable GFS has been playing around with this since about Christmas Eve, I think. So we will get there in the end. I'm convinced we will have a sun stratospheric warming this winter. And we should wait and see. This is from Weather is Cool. This is depicting the strength of zonal winds within the GFS ensembles. At the moment, zonal winds just there, so stronger than average. Black line is the trend line. And the GFS ensembles forecast that certainly over the next week, 10 days, so winds are going to stay quite strong. You'll notice that the green lines are dropping, though, by the time we get through into the third week of January. The GFS ensembles, these green lines, are dropping back close to average. Now, to get a reversal of zonal winds, which is like the gold standard for saying that you've had a southern stratospheric warming, you've got to reverse the zonal wind at 10 HPA. For that, we're a long way short of that. So these green lines are going to go all the way down to there, say, but with reverse zonal winds. And consequently has a southern stratospheric warming. So we're quite a long way short of a reversal of zonal winds there. However, it is quite interesting and noteworthy that the GFS or GFS ensembles are weakening zonal winds quite considerably there by the end of their respective runs, which today is getting it to around the 23rd to the 25th of January. So it's a slow burner. We remain, to see what happens. For now, let's just concentrate on whether we get this warming of the stratosphere reaching that kind of a level. If we do, then we wait to see after that whether we get reversal of zonal winds and whatnot. So let's just wait and see. We'll keep you updated. GavsWeatherVids Aussie. Central temperature not updated again today. Still up to the third, so we'll move on from that. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. The next couple of weeks, the red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Cardiff. We're very zonal at the moment, so very up and down with a cooler and warmer and cooler and warmer sectors alternating with one another. Now, from around the middle of January onwards, just here, looks as though we're going a little bit cooler, though. So through the third week of January, we could be facing a little bit of a cooler or even colder interlude. Some of these ensemble members, quite a few of them actually, are going down to a relatively cold level, to be honest, between around -4 and -8 to 850 HPA. So a little bit of a colder week there through the third week of January showing up, possibly looking back up to minor conditions into the final week of the month though, but of course that is very extended range and so is therefore unreliable. Precipitation wise, look like that, very wet for Cardiff over the next week with this zonal weather, so more areas of low pressure, bringing more wet weather in from off the Atlantic. As it goes colder there, around the middle part of the month into the third week of January, it's turning a little bit drier. Still unsettled, there will still be some precipitation around. If it's colder, so that could be snow. Of course, but settles a little bit dry for the third week of January, and then right at the very end, maybe get a bit wetter again. So possibly going back to milder, wetter conditions into the last week of the month. But then again, that is unreliable. Precipitation-wise, we look like that. Snow row, I should say. We look like that. There are some snow spikes there for Cardiff from around the 15th to 19th of January. Not that many of them, but you'll notice this dramatic spike just here. Obviously, that's an outlier. But there could be a little bit of wintry, could be a little bit of wintriness around into the third week of January. So, maybe a little bit of snow, especially, I think, for more northern areas. When we went to Leeds, I expect it looked more encouraging. Look at Leeds. It looks quite encouraging there for a little bit of snow through the third week of January, and Kettering will probably be somewhere in between. So Kettering a little bit in between Leeds and Cardiff, but certainly a bit of evidence there that there could be some snow around in the middle part of the month, in the third week of January, if it gets cold enough. Temperature anomalies from the 9th to the 17th of January are going to be milder than average. Having said that, and precipitation anomalies from the 9th to 17th of January, they're going to be wetter than average too. Latest wind from map from Earth and NorthSchool.net shows that we're between areas of low pressure today. Excuse me, so the weekend area of low is moving away to our north, and the next area of low pressure is deepening in the Atlantic. In between, we've actually got a little transient ridge that's building in from off the Atlantic. That will be giving us a drier afternoon and evening, but by the end of tonight, this area of low pressure will be bringing its next weather systems in off the Atlantic, and the next batch of heavy rain and strong winds will be with us through tomorrow. Right, so let's go through the chart data there. This UK Met Euro run is looking for midnight on Thursday. Low pressure will be bringing plenty of wet wind weather in from off the Atlantic. Carries on to Friday as well. Through to the weekend, more areas of low pressure coming in off the Atlantic, but begin to move southwards. So I've talked about this in the videos a lot over the past few days. Setting up a bit of a northwest-southeast alignment to the wind flow and jet stream, which means these areas of low pressure start pushing further southwards, and on their northern side, we begin to start bringing some colder air. That's where the risk of a little wind chillness comes from, perhaps, as we go through the third week of January. That's as far as we get to the UK Met Euro to 16th of January. So at that point, we've got a little bit of transient ridge across the country. This next area of low pressure at PMO could be about to go in that northwest-southeast alignment and trajectory. Now, remember, we are on the cold side of the jet stream there. The jet stream is black line roughly, and we're on the chillier side of that. Icon looks like this. Again, low pressure will bring lots of unsettled weather over the rest of this week, further bouts of wind, rain, and milder conditions into the weekend. We find that the jet stream begins to move southwards with these areas of low pressure moving southwards as well. So by the end of the Icon run, which gets us to midday this time next week, 16th of January, the wind has actually gone into the north, which is something we've not been able to say very often recently. That's bringing down some colder air. -5 Celsius iceberg is coming down with that northerly wind. We've got another area of low pressure just here. Is that going to run into the cold air on that sort of trajectory? If it did, then there would be the prospect of a little bit of snow on the northern side or the northern eastern side of that area of low pressure. Now that looks quite interesting by the time we get to this time next week. GFS midnight run, again with low pressure bringing further wet wind weather in from off the Atlantic Ocean over the next day. So you remember yesterday the GFS was showing a long fetch southwesterly for the coming weekend, or for this weekend. Well, that has been sort of pushed southwards now, so not excessively mild over the weekend, bringing this area of low pressure through. And then when that gets out of the way, we go into this cooler sort of northwesterly type flow. However, not as much of a northerly influence with the GFS midnight run compared to, say, Icon, up to day 10. Relatively mild for the south, a little bit on the cold side up in the north. It does eventually get wind into the north by the 20th of January, the end of next week, but not for long. We're back into those milder westerly winds again there. The GFS 6Z looking like that, so low pressure being further wet and windy weather over the coming few days into the beginning of next week. Starts to pull wind into the northwest a little bit quicker, so that by day 10 we're actually quite cold there with the GFS 6Z. And probably cold across much of northern Europe as well with that. And we keep it unsettled and quite cold into the third week of January as well. It's the 21st of January. Again, winds are still coming from the northwest to northerly direction. Certainly cold enough, a little bit of snow up in the north. And then through into the final week of January, so it turns a bit milder for a time. This area of low pressure coming in, and then back to northerly winds again. Certainly looks as though there's more in the way of wind shear potential here through the final couple of weeks of January compared to the first 2 weeks of it. If you enjoyed the video, then please do you like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. Why not drop a comment and let us know what you think about this, all of our videos. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. 2 more subscribers will get us to 15.3k. Please give us a sub. Thank you so much everyone. Right, GM, again with low pressure bringing more wet wind weather in from off the Atlantic over the rest of this week. Through the weekend, winds turning into the north, a little cold snap over the weekend, then more low pressure in for the early part of next week. That's quite a cold area of low, probably bring some snow up into the north, cold rain probable down in the south. Northerly winds there on the 18th of January, could bring some snow shower, particularly to northern and eastern parts of the country, and then winds back into the west by day 10, bringing something a little bit milder but also wetter in from off the Atlantic. And then the ECM looks like that, so once again, very unsettled through the end of this week into the weekend. By Sunday, we're starting to pull some colder air in from the north there, so we have a little bit of a cold snap Sunday into Monday with some northerly winds and low pressure back in through through Tuesday next week. That brings milder air temporarily in from off the Atlantic, also wet and windy weather, and that's our look as we get towards day 10. So, excuse me, a high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north, wind still in from the west. It looks like that could very easily pull down a northerly though if we could go on any further. This is a precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from Tavecchio.com. Plenty of wet weather coming and going over the next few days. Always cold, a little bit of snow in the north, mostly just cold rain though down in the south. By the time we get through to the weekend, morning wave of snow as those winds go into the north, which shall begin to wintry even down into more southern areas. Early next week, wet weather piling back in from off the Atlantic. That's on day 10, so cold enough winteriness across Scotland, so relatively less cold for the south with outbreaks of rain. Could very easily though turn winds into the north beyond that, I think. These are the options on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10 from the Icelandic Met Office. It gets us to the 19th of January. So 31 members of the ECM ensembles, including the control and the operation room at day 10 with low pressure to our east and northeast, high pressure out in the Atlantic, sending the wind flow jet stream on the northwest southeast alignment, unsettled and a little bit of wind shear potential with that. 20 flatter with low pressure more towards the northwest, high pressure towards the southwest, and so that's bringing in milder air from a westerly direction. So the colder option actually is, albeit it's not that cold, you know, we've got to put this in perspective. We're not talking about depths of winter. It's, you know, chilly really, but the colder option of the two is the majority option at day 10. In 2 weeks time, these are the options that we've got. And this gets us to the 24th of January. 21 members of the ECM ensembles building up the heights around Greenland and Iceland with low pressure wave to our east. That probably brings in the wind from a cold northerly direction, I would have thought. 13 with high pressure sitting over just to the east of the coast. That's probably going to be quite cold from a gruesome twosome perspective. That might bring a little bit of the frost and fog. A little bit of a gruesome twosome there. And then 19 with low pressure over and just to the east of the country, high pressure in the Atlantic. So it's going to be unsettled and probably quite chilly at the very least, winds in from the northwest. And then 8 just here with a mid-Atlantic ridge going up towards Scandinavia, and winds probably in from the east with that. So that could be quite cold as well. To be honest, those options are looking quite cold, I have to say, by the 24th of January. So we're just going to wait and see what's going on here. There's not much sign of that within the GFS operationals and whatnot. So let's wait and see what's going on there. ECM ensembles seem to get quite cold weather, I think, by the final week of the month. 7325 finally, these are 500 millibar high to lows, working down into weekly periods. The first week period takes us from the 9th through to the 15th of January. Coming week with low pressure, more or less over top of the country, going to be a very unsettled week to come, of course. Now, week 2 looks quite interesting. This is the 16th to 22nd of January. High pressure building in the Atlantic and heading northwards. Low pressure just over to the east of the country. Probably brings winds in from more of a northerly direction, so it's unsettled and perhaps turning colder air through the 3rd week of January. Week 3 also looks interesting. It's the 23rd to the 29th of January with above average heights building to our north, and you would assume that's going to get wind into a northeasterly or an easterly direction, so that could well be quite cold. And then week 4 looks like that. It's the 30th of January to the 5th of February. High pressure up through Scandinavia, low pressure out to our west. So there's a bit of a battle going on there with low pressure wanting to bring wind in from west, and high pressure in Scandinavia wanting to bring wind in from the east. So probably be weather fronts of that involved, should I say, a wintry start to February with the risk of some snow. I wonder, it's a long way off that, so probably not worth getting that interested in yet. We shall see. Right, if you enjoyed the video, please can you like, share, subscribe, thank you so much everybody for doing that. Why don't drop a comment and let us know what you think about this of our videos. We thank you so much everybody for doing that, and please give us a sub. Let's get to 15.3k today even, if we can. Thank you so much, everyone. Right then, so quite interesting, isn't it? We've been through a very, very mild spell of weather since Christmas through the first half of January. We always said second half of January is where the cooler or colder potential could be. That's still showing up, especially through the third week of the month, when there could be one or two little colder interludes coming and going. Nothing that exciting, you know, we're not talking about depths of winter, we're not talking about a big freezer or anything like that, just a little bit of cold zonality, possibly bringing the risk of some snow, particularly, but maybe not exclusively to more northern areas. The bigger picture, you know, remains the warming of the stratosphere. Will we get that SSW in the last stages of January? If we do, will it have an effect to produce some northern blocking for February? That is where the big storyline continues to be. Right, we're going to be back at 8 p.m. with our live stream. So we're going to be live streaming Ensembles Watch. We'll go through all members of the GEFS. We will bring you up to date with 12-day operational runs of all of the models, and also we will hopefully have the latest extended 42-day update from ECM WS, so we'll be able to look at the stratospheric forecast from that, you know, in the live stream this evening. Fingers crossed. I shall see you live later on. You enjoy the rest of your Monday afternoon, and for this one, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.